One of the hardest things when it comes to tattooing color realism is how to get realistic skin tones. Today I'm going to break down how you can apply these techniques to your tattoos to help you throughout this process. In this video, I want to walk you through one of my favorite color realism tattoos that I've done. It's a concept between life and death using warmth and shadows in the tattoo. This tattoo challenged me in all the best ways, from the subtle transitions in her skin tone to the deep and warm saturation in the cloak and how those two worlds collide in one composition. I'll be breaking down how I built my skin tones, how I controlled the warmth and contrast, and how I handle transitions throughout this entire piece.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be working on a painterly style tattoo. It's going to go right here on the outer forearm. It's going to be full color. So I'm going to show you my process and how I do that today. He should be walking in soon, so I'll show you guys what it looks like. What's up? How are you? Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let me show you this. So this is what I came up with. What do you think?
That's dope.
Kind of like what I was telling you about, changing a little bit, but I did want to also show you this is what it's going to look like on your forearm.
Okay. How do you feel, because I like how like the Grim Reaper, like the color and everything is on it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about doing like maybe a different skull?
Yeah, we can do that. What are you looking for specifically?
Maybe just something where you can kind of see a little bit more of like
the detail?
the form in it. Yeah.
Okay, so
maybe,
like more of this side over here kind of showing?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I still like the shadow casting, but maybe, I don't know. I think the texture is kind of, it's just throwing me off a little bit on that one.
Do you want to completely change the entire skull, or do you want me to just kind of like go in and just kind of
You could do that.
fix that area?
Yeah. You could do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, no, everything else though, I really love like all the flow lines.
Hell
and
yeah.
This girl right here.
Yeah, and
I like
this is what you want to get into anyways, right? So
this exact style. So
yeah.
like,
okay, cool.
Yeah, that's
everything is good though. We'll go ahead and change that real quick, and then I'm going to show him what that looks like. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to just kind of take some of this part of the skull and brighten up over here, and we're going to basically fix this part of the skull because we don't really like too much of like the texture, as he was saying earlier. So we're just going to kind of make those changes really quick, show him really quick what that looks like, and then see if we can get his approval. In situations like this, you cannot be afraid to make changes for your clients. It is super, super important that they are happy with it. So even though you as an artist, you want to have a vision for something and see something, your client may also see something different. And it's okay. You have to be open to design changes and just little minor tweaks and changes. Of course, you want to give your professional opinion, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your client is happy. So go back to the drawing board sometimes, humble yourself and fix a design, even if, it's not something that you would have necessarily done. Be open-minded. Okay, so now that we fixed what he was asking for, I'm going to go ahead and show him and hopefully get his approval on it. All right, so I just did the very, very basics. I just kind of changed the little things. Again, this is just reference photo, but I want you to be happy with it. So what do you think?
I like it.
A lot better?
Yeah.
We like the texture now. We can see it. I did brighten up just a little bit over here just so you can kind of see.
Right.
But again, reference photo. So when I do tattoo it, it is going to be slightly different, right? So when I do like my reference, you want to like trust your reference, of course. Also, I do think that it is important to kind of match the tones just a little bit. So we kind of, you see the visual, you understand like, okay, this is what I'm going to use with it. Yeah, there is a little bit more of like green tones in this, which I do kind of want to bring in down here. This kind of like greenish bluish tones like in her dress, of course, of the way that the light is casting on her. I will be kind of using some of that. But yes, definitely the warm tones as well. I think those are super important to kind of also bring into the skull.
That's what makes you a good artist, being able to kind of stray off the reference a little bit and kind of just
do your own thing.
Best. Yeah.
So I got to do you justice on this piece.
Yeah,
so.
heck yeah. I know you are. I'm not going to be disappointed.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let me just set up really quick and then we'll get started, okay?
Awesome. Hey, my name is Destin. Been a tattoo artist for about 2 years. I've been drawing ever since I was little, and I've always had a passion for art. Started tattooing around 2023 at the end of the year. I got my first tattoo when I turned 18, and I kind of just took a love for it, like immediately. And over the time, as I've learned how to tattoo and learn more about the culture, I've really valued the artwork and quality behind good pieces. Yeah, so the tattoo I'm getting, it's a girl and the Grim Reaper. The main focus is kind of on the Grim Reaper as far as the meaning goes. It's kind of just a reminder that to live life in the moment because you never know when your last is. Yeah, so I chose Chris Herschel to do the piece for me. Something that really stood out about her is, of course, her color work her painting, her style. Smooth black and gray, that's always a great sign. She has great fundamentals, and she just has a great team working around her. So I knew it'd be a good experience overall, and I could put my full trust into her to do my tattoo.
I like to mix colors a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I find it more, I get more like in tune with like, you know, my color palette a little bit more that way.
Right.
Also, like doing a lot of painting, I kind of feel like I work with such a limited color palette as is. So I don't like to...
painting, you only really need like 5 colors.
Right.
You could mix any color.
Right. Yeah, you just got to understand how colors work together, how they interact with each other, the harmony between each other. Mm-hmm. You know, the opposites.
It definitely helps to know how to oil paint, how to mix it. I feel like tattooing can be a little different too, though, because some of them have like undertones that you can't even see.
Yeah, what's helped me a lot with color is don't really worry about the color itself, worry about the value.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where this undertone kind of comes in, and you're like, oh, but this kind of looks green, but it's not green, it's like red, you know? Mm-hmm. And you're like, why am I seeing that? It's, you know, it's the way that the lights are casting its shadow, the values, things like that. So that I think is super important when it comes to working with color. Is people, you know, are so quick to look at like, well, what color is that? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I'm sure you've seen those memes of is it a blue dress or is it a black dress? Yeah. You know, so that's exactly where that comes in. Is yes, it looks like a blue dress, but that's just because of the way that the light is bouncing on it. Mm-hmm. But it's not blue.
I like it. Yeah, flows really nice on the arm.
I'm going to do what I typically do. I'm going to print out a photo of my reference here with the color, so that way I can not focus too much on my details. I don't want to get too distracted. I kind of want to just make my tattoo come to life, but when I zoom in really, really far on my iPad, I tend to get really distracted. So that's why I do this. I like to print out a photo, which is also something that you should, if you haven't already done that, you should start doing, because that helps me a lot. At least just try it, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know, but I think it's super important to take a step back, you know, look at what you're doing, not really focus too much on your details. Your details will come, you know, as you continuously do your tattoos. You
kind of want to squint and just see like the big groups of values and like kind of focus on that first.
Yep, this is why it's artist to artist. Now you're gonna be like, yeah, I already know.
Yeah, that's a big reason I wanted to come to you, because I feel like I'd be able to learn a lot from the experience, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. Going to be using Allegory Ultra Black, one of the best blacks that I've ever used. I really like it.
That's what
it's super dark. You use it too, the Ultra Black?
Yeah.
See?
I use their gray wash set too.
Oh, you do? And then also going to be using the Empire Inks 10 color set that they came out with. I really, really like this set. I'm going to be separating my warm tones and cool tones, and I'm going to be using this entire set the entire project. So I'll definitely be explaining on how and why I use what I use and why I'm mixing certain colors together. When I pour my colors, I try to keep my cool tones together, my warm tones together. Everybody's different, you know? Obviously, like, do what works for you.
That makes sense, so you don't like accidentally some of the other colors
make
them muddy at all.
Exactly. That way you're not like, you have one blue over here and then you have another blue over here and you're just like, but again, whatever works for you, works for you. I approach this just like how I would a painting. I know that's so scary for like a lot of people, but it's really not that bad. You know, like it's a lot of trust. And the trust comes with trusting that you know what color you're going to get when you mix certain colors. Right. So that's why I think it's super important to practice, you know, color when it comes to oil paintings or, you know, acrylic paintings. So as artists, you know, we should constantly just be learning how colors interact with each other, you know? So, which is why I think it's really great that what you're doing, you know, taking that extra step to go out and just do these oil paintings. And, you know, it may not be like what your result, like your result may not be like what you want to see necessarily, but you're still getting a takeaway from that. The takeaway is I'm learning to see how these colors interact with each other.
Absolutely.
And that's so important.
I like immediately I've done 3 oil paintings so far. Just based off those 3 oil paintings, I've seen results in my color work.
There you go.
I already understand color like a little better than I did before. And that's why it's so important to try different medias, because you learn something new from every different one. because I knew how to draw before I started tattooing, I feel like it really gave me an edge over some people, you know? Once you learn how to technically tattoo, it's just about your understanding of art at that point.
Well, I started using this set coming up to a year ago. I started it on that light piece. So that's when I really started using it. That was honestly, that was my first time ever really using it. And I just went big and I went convention and I just said, fuck it, let's just see how this goes. Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
It came out so good. It's like genuinely one of my favorite pieces. It was so scary.
I was so scared.
Really?
Yeah, I was terrified. But it's trust. You have to trust yourself.
Trust your intuition. Yeah. And just, you know.
Trust your skill.
Yeah.
And what I like about this, specifically Empire, they make very similar to how you would with the oil painting. They make where you can thin it out or you can make it a little bit more thicker, the consistency. So if you go on their website, they have it and it's pretty much labeled the exact same way that an oil painting or an oil painter would, you know, find it in a store. So it's really cool because you're really much taking these same names of these colors and the same tools that, you know, you would use as an oil painter and you're just applying it right to skin directly. And it's so convenient. So that's why I really, really like Empire. Their background is fine art. And I think that's so important. When it comes to this specific style, it is really, really helpful. So I'm going to start with down here by his wrist, kind of get these paint strokes in. And then once I kind of get that in, we'll come back to how I do the bottom section of this, which is mainly the girl. This is mainly what we're going to focus on today. Getting these textures in on the dress that she's wearing and getting these tones, matching these tones onto his skin tone, getting all these dark values and all the contrast that we see over here and pushing this background and bringing out her hand right over here. So this is mainly like where I'm going to come back and kind of focus on to kind of explain how I'm going to get these values, these tones, and these colors to match perfectly onto his skin. So as always, I'm going to be using my WJX needles. I have a 5 tight, a 9 tight liners, and then I have a 7 curve mag and a 13 curve mag. We're going to keep it a little light today. Those are mainly going to be my main focuses right here is using my liners to kind of do a stipple technique effect. And I'm going to be using my mags to kind of help with this paint strokes and packing most of this dark tones in there. Now that we're all set up, we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and do this first part here. I'm going to go ahead and cut to where we do the dress and the undertones of getting the skin tones to match onto his skin tone to make it look like an actual portrait.
Okay guys, now I'm gonna go ahead and break down the tattoo with you. Starting with the skin tones, to achieve getting that soft, luminous flow on her face was one of the most important parts of this tattoo. This is my main focal point throughout this piece, so what your eye is drawn to immediately. I wanted to make her feel alive, like she was standing under a warm light, almost like she's unaware that the death is behind her. To get this, I built her skin tone from the lightest values up. I did this by mapping out my midtones first. I used warm colors like peach and rose undertones as my base layer. I used my round liner to open up the pores on the skin first. I used a technique that's called stipple shading. I did this at a low voltage so I don't damage the skin because I will be using layers throughout this piece. So I need to make sure that I'm being very careful with my technique and I don't overwork the skin. Once I get in my undertones, which is my base layer, I then gradually layer in deeper reds and browns in areas where the light naturally falls off, creating shadows and depth. Notice in the areas under the chin, around the jawline, and down on the neck. Those areas are important and you don't want harsh transitions between those tones. A huge mistake that artists can make when doing a piece like this is that they will jump straight into highlights or shadows, but the real believable realism aspect comes from those midtones, and a lot of patience because that's where the life of this piece truly exists. Now when it comes to transitions, when I'm tattooing realism, I'm constantly thinking about the transition, how the light and dark values interact. I'm thinking about how I'm going to go from one texture to another. In this tattoo, the transition from the cloak to the face was very crucial. I didn't want a hard divide between the two subjects, so instead I wanted the cloak to act as if it was subtly wrapping around her in her shadows. The direction of the cloak was important to change the flow of the two subjects. It helps the viewer's eye continuously move throughout the piece without getting lost. Now, when it comes to the clothing on the woman, I want to talk about how I didn't want to compete with the face and take away from the focus of the face, but I did want it to have enough character to also be important for the viewer to notice the details. In my reference photo, I'm noticing that her clothing is white or a cream tone, and of course, with the warm colors throughout the piece, I had to be careful not to make this part of the tattoo flat. To avoid that from happening, I used the blue and yellow to create some green undertones to give that effect of a shadow being casted onto the clothing. This entire piece is all about balance, warm versus cool, soft versus textured, and life versus death. Every decision from the color palette to the transition was meant to tell the entire story. Tattoos like this remind me that technical skill and storytelling go hand in hand. The more intentional that you are with every layer of the color, the more emotion you can pull out of your work.
I don't know, just looking at it, I'm like, it's crazy.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's crazy. Looking at it from like far back, because like when you're so close to it, you know, it's kind of like hard to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Let that be a little life lesson, is that sometimes when you don't know where you are, just gotta take a step back, see the bigger picture. That's so gay.
Great advice from Chris.
Yeah, life advice from Chris. All right, check it out. Let me know what you think. Oh my God.
Check it out.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Oh my God. Wow.
Hell yeah.
That's insane. That's on my arm forever. Like, that is insane. Wow.
Hell yeah. And my back doesn't hurt. I'm not hungry. Honestly, I feel great. I'm gonna go home and work on my painting. Okay, well, that was our 3-day session. How are you feeling?
I feel great, honestly. I'm really glad we did 3 days back to back. Her technique of just finishing an area and moving along really just made the whole process a lot less painful. And, you know, it's probably one of my best tattoo experiences I've ever had.
What are your takeaways as an artist?
My takeaways as an artist is you're able to layer. Like, that was one thing I didn't really realize. Like, you can saturate layering. Also, you don't have to run your voltage so high, you know. Like, another thing, take your time. Rush tattoos, you know, like this tattoo could not be done if it was rushed, you know.
For sure.
So you can definitely tell, like, just all the details inside of it.
You got like an interesting perspective too as a client, but also being an artist too. So I think that's really cool. You could tell this to your clients as well. Like, hey, like from my experience, like I sat through this. So
absolutely.
Yeah, like it pays off in the end. So
and just having a little insight onto your process and just how the way you do things, like, I'm definitely going to apply that to my work now. And like, it kind of, I didn't even know shit like this was like possible. Like, I've never seen a tattoo like this in person, you know? So
dope.
Yeah, you really outdid yourself, and I'm like eternally grateful.
I'm glad you love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
11 out of 10.
Thank you guys for watching this entire tattoo process. If you liked it, please let me know in the comments, share it, let me know what you think.